On today's episode, as we've mentioned throughout this episode, we will be reviewing the first half of Mara Brock Akil's hit sitcom, My Girlfriends, My
My girlfriend.
Girlfriends. The show has also been out for 8 million years now, I think, so it will be a spoiled review because, come on.
It's spoiled as hell.
Okay. Do you want to give your general thoughts before we dive in episode by episode? I can also give mine.
Blanking. I am blanking.
Okay, I'll give mine, and if it comes back to you, then do it. If not, then we'll just do episode by episode. So my main thoughts before we dive in episode by episode are, okay, so I remembered the vibes and the characters and just being amused by the show. Like if somebody were to talk about Girlfriends, I'd be like, oh yeah, I like Girlfriends, but I did not remember anything about what happened in the series. Like I didn't remember the plot points. So rewatching as an adult has been interesting, entertaining, and sometimes grating. My favorite moments are the ridiculous humor. Like one of my favorite things is Maya being a hotep. I did not remember her being that much of a hotep, but that shit is fucking hilarious to me. Or like the thing with fucking Marcus's hips, man.
No, I love Marcus with the big hips. Like,
it is problematic.
Exactly. It's very problematic, but very hilarious. And also, I think my lens of watching it as a child is definitely different than my lens watching it. Which allows us to really see some of these things that we don't remember because we weren't checking for them when we were younger.
That's true.
True. I remember watching it and really seeing sisterhood and really aspiring for that when I got to be that age, which I also thought that age was old, and now I'm at that age. I'm like, girl,
I'm baby.
You've achieved so much at that bright old age of 28, and you complaining about I don't got a man. Sit down.
Yeah, that's another thing. But okay.
And it's a stark difference. Like, I don't know, because I wasn't 28 back when this show aired. I was 8. So I don't know if the things that they achieved were actually attainable back then. She was 29 with a whole house, which then comes to find out that her grandmother left her that house. But I don't know if that's relatable.
I mean, Black home ownership is not relatable. It exists, but it's not a relatable aspect of America. So I think being a Black lawyer is not relatable.
Well, not relatable. Realistic, I think was the word I was looking for. But
it's not realistic either. I mean, it's not commonplace is the word.
Yes. Commonplace.
Yes, there are Black lawyers, and yes, I know you're buying your fucking houses. Shut the fuck up. But it's not a
commonplace. Yes. Continue, Sam. Continue. I'm
sorry. So those are things that I enjoy. Oh yeah, I also really enjoy the intentional platonic love moments. So where it's really at the end of an episode, it'll be okay, girl, we had our beef for the first 25 minutes or 20 minutes or 15 minutes, 20-minute episode. And then in the last 5 minutes, they hash it out and you see how much they love each other, as friends. I'm just oh, yes, I love those parts. And my least favorite moments are the girl, I need a man moments, which is 75% of the show.
It really is 75% of the show.
That was difficult for me in watching it. Do you have any initial thoughts before we dive in?
Even rewatching it, I love their platonic moments, but it really watching it, I realized how toxic it was.
Friendship wise?
Yeah, friendship wise.
Yeah.
Who child? And I was it's in the same way that cattiness between women is normalized or made to seem like what it is. I think that was also the culture and still is the culture then. So I low-key aspired to that, believing that we had to have our fallouts to come back together and have this real love. And then comparing that to my friendships now, where we 98% of the time are just good. There is no drama. I'm not dating nobody's man behind their back. I'm not calling y'all out y'all names. Our shade isn't really I'm trying to get at you and your traumas. It's none of that. We're shady in a funny way, but
not like that.
We rarely shade each other anyway.
Nobody's trying to cut for blood or anything
exactly.
Like that,
So watching, I was ooh, I would have never, not in my friend group.
Me too. I kind of have are you about to go to another point that's not that?
No.
Oh, okay. But do you have another point after this?
No.
Oh, okay. Like, oh, you're just done. Okay. So I felt like that too, and we'll get into it. But like, I hated some characters the first couple episodes because I'm like, why y'all so mean? But
Why?
also, and I definitely think that it plays into stereotypes about women and being catty and stuff like that. But sitcom niggas are just mean, and it kind of started to like. I think that's why I don't. No, I think I just didn't find them that funny anymore. But I used to really like sitcoms, especially King of Queens, but I don't really like sitcoms anymore. And I remember like growing up and being very, very disturbed by My Wife and Kids and how mean they were to Junior.
Yo, I couldn't watch that show. Everybody goes,
Like,
it's so funny, but y'all was so mean. And then there was
and not in ways that was even funny to me.
That was even
like,
funny.
Why is this happening?
That's
it was
a show.
odd.
That's a show that I've maybe watched like 10 episodes. Like, I don't know it in the way of other sitcoms because of the way they treated him. And there was a portion in which like he got a girl pregnant and had to go live in the garage, and it was like abuse. Like that show was not funny. That show was not funny to me at all. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
It's just sitcoms are just kind of strange, and like I don't want anybody listening to this for the first time to be like, oh, this bitch has no sense of humor or something like that. I laugh at a lot of shit, dark, light, all that kind of shit, but it's just like I just don't find humor from it. And I don't know, it's just like people ragging on each other is like a common sitcom trope. Like even if we take it out of Black sitcoms, let's talk about what the fuck is that not funny shit with the nerds.
Big Bang Theory.
Yes, Big Bang Theory.
I love that show. But go ahead.
Okay. I can see the humor in it, but it just stopped being funny to me. I used to watch that. But they rag the fuck out of it. Like, that's just the point of the show. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just them ragging on each other. Even like I was gonna say Cosby Show, but we don't have to talk about that nigga. Even like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where we really saw the connective moments. That's also like half Carlton getting on Will getting on Carlton, somebody getting on Hillary getting on somebody, Jeffrey shading
with
out of everybody. Yeah,
Jeffrey with the shade.
Jeffrey shading the shit out of everybody. Another thing that's talked about often now that we look at history through a different lens, or things that happened in the 90s through a different lens, was the relationship between Pam and Martin. And like, oh, that's just what it was. They were ragging on each other, and other people.
I didn't like that either.
Happening because
I'm sorry. Martin was a show that I couldn't. I did not like that relationship between him and Pam at all. And at that time, and I don't think maybe now I can realize what it was, but I never thought it was funny. Like, I was just like, why are you always talking to her like that? Why is everybody letting this happen? Like, that used to irk me as a young dark-skinned girl. I did not like it. I was like, why the fuck is he talking to her like that? And why are everybody just sitting here? Like,
it's the why is everybody just sitting here that's always kind of weird, right? But so I don't know. Obviously, like, things inform things, so we can't take a man calling a dark-skinned woman a dog out of the context of the fact that colorism actually exists, specifically colorism towards dark-skinned Black women. But then there also is this nature of sitcom characters just ragging on other sitcom characters. It's just interesting.
I think there's just a threshold for me that certain shows hit very easily. That may not be for other people, but there were certain shows that just fair.
That's fair. Also, if the comedy don't hit, like, it's not saying like certain kinds of, not everybody's gonna find the exact same thing funny. So if the comedy really isn't hitting, then I'm just not going to like the show anymore, or at all. So that's interesting.
Like, even if we take it to Kings and Queens, which is also a show that I would catch on reruns, there comes to a certain season where I don't remember the wife.
Carrie kept getting on Doug.
Like, his weight, like, it was just like, yo,
I agree with that. Yeah, that's when it stopped being funny to me too. It was just like, damn, do y'all just hate each other? Like, is there even like, is this even that funny anymore?
I thought, and fat phobia aside, there are some things you could chuckle at. There were some things that I could chuckle at, but that it literally at like I don't know what season it was. It was just like, yo, how are you
Yeah.
married to someone like this?
Yeah,
Like
that got to be a bit much too.
it
That
got
got
to
to be
be
a bit
too
much.
much.
Yeah. I think even 2.5 Men, granted, I think everybody stopped watching after Charlie Sheen left. That's a whole nother thing about Charlie Sheen, and Ashton Kutcher was there for some reason. But I remember feeling a little bit like uncomfortable with it as the kid started growing up, and like they didn't give him any room to like actually be a person, and they would just like talk to him like he was like an unintelligent kid. It's just like, I feel like he needs nurturing right now. So yeah, sitcoms, man, they're interesting. But let's get into girlfriends. All right, so episode 1 was, what was the premise of episode 1? I think there's just a party. Like,
it is Joan's birthday.
oh, it's her birthday. That's why there was a party.
It is her birthday. It's her 29th birthday. Joan is having a little intimate get together with her friends, and her best friend since the age of 8 comes with a date. Nobody else has a date but Tony, and comes with her ex-boyfriend. Now, this just wasn't a nigga that she, you know, hit it and quit it with. She still goes shopping with his mama. Yeah. How you gonna bring her ex to her birthday party?
That's trifling, trifling, trifling.
The ex was toe sucking Charles. I love you, toe. I love this show. Only black woman, toe sucking Charles.
Yeah, I like how things are associated with the things that person just like okay.
You can say it because I know what you're gonna say. You can say it. You can say it. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay, so in our friend group, me, Akua, and people we went to high school with, there is a man named Pencil Dick.
There is a man that I had sexual intercourse with that we you know, ascribe to as Pencil Dick, because that's it.
Yeah, like there's a person and some sort of trait probably around them sexually, and that is just how we know this person. Like, I think it was last year, right? Was that last year, cool, when we went to Jersey? That was definitely last year. Oh god, this year has been so long. But last year, somebody had a one-night stand with a man who left like marks on the wall or something like that.
Handprints on the wall.
And we were calling him like Handprint, whatever his name is. Like,
yes.
Yeah, that is relatable. All these men with their traits and their names is very relatable.
And I love it. It also speaks to like early 2000, late 90s, early 2000 culture, and that toe sucking was, you know, kind of like salacious. Yeah, he's sucking on toes, and I'm like, a nigga has to put my toe in his mouth at some point during our sexual encounter, or the sex was whack. Because there are plenty of times in which my ankles are by your ears, and there is reach.
Why
you
not?
Can do it.
Pop it in there. Pop it in there.
If you can see my foot in the peripheral of your eye, and you don't think, let me add extra pleasure by putting a toe in my mouth, we're not doing this again. We're not doing this again. I actually was watching a porno.
Yeah.
I was watching a porno. I hate the word porn.
I was like, okay, we just really in the 90s right now.
And where like the woman's foot was within his area, like within his mouth area, he did not put it in his mouth, and I had to turn off. So this is whack. I gotta go. Like the connection is there. Think. Let's come on now. Come on.
Especially as a porn star, like that's your job. Like make it a little hot.
Yes. So yeah. So the fact that it was just this thing, toe sucking Charles, I loved it. You know, and they delved into, I think Tony continued to see him, and they delved into like his foot fetish.
Oh, that's outside of the first half though.
Ooh,
is it?
No, I think it was like the second episode.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was talked about.
No, it was it was the same episode.
He was there in the Oh,
it was the same episode in which they were together. She finally ended it because he wanted to like give her a pedicure and then like suck on her toes. And she was like, I just can't do this no more. And I was like, why not? Because I need a pedicure. And that's when they broke it up. Oh yeah, because she was like thinking of him sucking on Joan's toes instead of hers or something like that.
He also he's in the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yes. This is just a taste thing, and I was just like, I don't know why this is happening other than the fact that network television did not believe in Black people, although it was on UPN, which was very Black. But like during the party, it doesn't sound like sound that's coming from, I think this is called diegetic sound, but like in a scene in a movie where the sound is coming from like a stereo or whatever, you can hear it in there, and then there's like the score, like stuff that's just overlaid. Okay. So it wasn't something that was coming from someone's speakers, but it was just overlaid sound throughout the entire party. There was just like a fake groovy R&B song playing. And when we talked about this earlier, before we decided to review it, I started watching Girlfriends, and I literally paused it right there because it was getting on my nerves so much, and I never revisited it. Because I hated that. So it was like a weird Cinemax porn scene. And I was just like, did that happen because we're trying to prove that these are like Black people having a good time? It's just very strange. But pilot episodes can be rough stuff.
Yeah, they're rough drafts.
Yeah. Okay. Want to move on to episode 2?
Yeah. Well, one last thing, which I don't know if it was necessary, in that when her dress split during her party, I didn't know why that needed to happen.
Yeah, I don't know why that needed to happen either. Plot driver.
I guess.
Did that motivate some sort of action?
No. That ended the scene.
Oh, it ended the party.
Yes, it ended the party.
Okay. So they were like, we don't know how to fucking get all these people out of here. Joan's dress is splitting.
She could have she was in the moment, she was in the process of kicking them out. And then it was like this added embarrassment for her or something.
Maybe that's also before, because Joan is kind of not Maya. Lynn is like the quirky one. Well, she's the weird one, but Joan is kind of the quirky one. And that like plays on the fact that she is like the most successful and all that kind of stuff and has all of her shit together. But one, she can't find a man. And two, she's like a bit awkward, a bit weird. I think they were trying to like play that up before they figured out what level they wanted to have that at. Because there's been other moments she's like throwing up on niggas and stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Episode 2. What is the premise of episode 2? Davis? Yes. I think it is Joan. They're all at a restaurant, and Joan says, I haven't had sex in a minute or something like that. And Davis is flirting with her. And then she realizes that he's not flirting with her. No, she never realized that he's not flirting with her. She takes the flirtatious play, and her friends are like, girl, you gotta get some dick. They're not saying it like that, but they're like, girl, you gotta get some dick. And she's like, all right, let me just try it with Davis. And she gets him to take her home, and he does, and he's like, I have a fiance. And then she lies and tells her friends that she got dick anyway, even though he just needs to change her shirt. Oh, because he was the person she threw up on. My thoughts about this episode, I wrote down, Maya gets on my nerves, Tony gets on my nerves. And I think that was like the heat of them trying to demonstrate the tension between them and them not liking each other. But the way that they didn't like each other was so ridiculous to me, particularly on Tony's end, because it was just like classist and not funny. I just hated it. I just did not like it. I did not like them. I was like, I don't remember hating them this much. But as that eases out, as the season progresses, I like both of them a lot more now. This episode had some cutscenes that I liked. I think that this show does cutscenes well. There was like a question about why men hold their dicks, and like it cut to a whole bunch of different men explaining why they hold their dicks. That was funny. Then there was like a moment where Joan was like, maybe I just need some white friends, and then it like cuts to white women just being like, oh my god, I need to tape the episode of Friends that's on tonight. I'm just like, I love that. I wrote down, Lynn is a free spirit, it's calming. And I think it was just like the Maya and Tony thing, like her not being a part of that was just like, oh, that's very nice. But then there's also like colorist implications in that, where it's like the two darker skinned women are fighting and the light skinned woman is the fucking carefree so that's a bit weird. Oh wait, this is the same episode? No, this is not the same episode. I think that was episode 3, where they got in the fight outside the club. That was episode 3. Yeah. Okay. That's all I have about episode 2 then.
They continue to fight. Yeah, I don't think I have anything to add about, well, yeah, I think it was unclear to me regarding Davis and his fiance's relationship, if it was like an ethical non-monogamy thing or was he cheating. It like, I feel like, well, not then, but I would have liked a broader explanation of that. But I think his fiance dumped him in the end, so it really was like him just trying to cheat.
But I don't think he was actually trying to cheat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he went over there to really just drop her off or whatever, and then Joan vomits on his shirt, and then he has to change, and then Lynn and Tony walk in as he's changing, and then they tell everybody else. Yeah, they tell everybody else that they actually had sex, even though they didn't have sex. I think he was really just like, girl, I'm just trying to take you home. Which is it's nice to see, although I guess what's her name, Joan, gets rejected often on the show, but it's always nice to see men not being the stereotypical I'm going to have sex in any moment kind of thing. All right, so episode 3, they're interested in going to a club, and Maya says, okay, I can get you into like this club in the hood, or I can get you into this club that's like a quote unquote upscale club or whatever. And Tony says, I don't want to go in the club in the hood because she's a classist. And I don't believe that you actually have the hookup to get into the upscale club. Turns out she does get the hookup. Joan decides to, but Maya doesn't want to let her into the club because she was being classist towards her and mean. So Joan and everybody else go into the club with her, and Maya gets Tony gets mad about that, and some woman tries to press them, or tries to press Tony specifically, and they all get into a fight, and Joan doesn't jump in. And later she's like, I'm a lawyer, what the fuck do you think I'm doing? What you think I'm gonna be out here fighting? And Tony is like, yeah, I'm your best friend, I was getting my ass kicked, you should have helped me. So that's the premise of that one. Only thing I'd say about that is if my friend is getting their ass kicked, I'm swinging.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, therapists are not professional or not, I'm not gonna let you beat my friend at, like, no, we fighting. And I'm gonna think about that later.
Yeah, no, we're fighting.
Which is also interesting, because in another season, okay, no, she still had that kind of sentiment. In another season, she is dating this younger guy, and they go to a club, and she accidentally takes E. She actually accidentally takes ecstasy. And I remember that episode because they made it seem like he was like, had her strung out on opiates. It was so like 90s do not do drugs ever that it was like, y'all need to calm the hell down. Like, we have all popped a tab or something, like, relax. But they made it seem like she was about to just be, you know, at AA meetings or NA meetings for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
Whew, so over dramatized. But there was a point where, no, this is what I'm getting at. They were at this like makeout spot, you know, such TV things, like this makeup spot in like the mountains or whatever. And then the police or the park rangers came and busted them up, and she got caught. So she went to jail. And she continued to, her friends were like, you're a lawyer, you can't be going to jail. But she continued to see him anyway. So I find that interesting, in that you can't fight for your friend when someone's beating her up. But for this guy, you can go to jail, and that doesn't, you know, and he gets a second chance. So that, you know, that can really be detrimental to your career.
Prioritizing romantic relationships over platonic and honestly familiar relationships.
And that would not be me, because guess what? I'm fighting.
I'm definitely fighting. And without a question. I'm happily fighting.
This is why I try to keep drunk Sam calm, because drunk Sam is with the shits, y'all. And I always have to, I'm like, no, Sam, let it go, because I'm not prepared to fight in this moment. But drunk Sam is with the shit, like, no question.
Funny. That is definitely true, and you can ask anybody that.
I always have to be the peacemaker when Sam is drunk. I'm like, yo.
But honestly, niggas really be trying it, and it gets on my fucking nerves. People really try it. Like, people have like touched us, and it's just like, don't touch me and don't touch my fucking friends. What is your problem?
Well, not in that high of a situation, but like it's such a split difference, in that sober Sam is so rational and so peaceful. She's like, oh no, let's think about, you know, let's talk this through. But drunk Sam is with the shit. Like, she don't care. There's not a talk, nothing. So then it flips, where I feel like when I'm sober, I'm ready. Like, I'm ready to go. I'm like, we can fight though. Like, there's not an issue.
Let's get active, baby. All right. Episode 4. Episode 4 is where Joan meets a man
On the
online.
internet, which let's
Yes,
talk
on the
about
internet. On the internet.
internet.
And the man ends up being Marcus with the big hips. So yeah, the internet thing, they were just like, you on the only desperate people meet people on the internet. I would never do that. That could be a serial killer. That could be a murderer, which hops into Maya's whole Hotep thingy or whatever. And now it's just like, how do you not meet someone on the internet?
Now in the good year 2020.
Yeah, that was a whole 180. That was like a whole 180. That was so
I don't think I've met a man outside of the internet in the past 5 years.
Exactly. That is so interesting. Another thing that was not funny, but like ironic was, I don't remember what instance she made it, but I think she was making fun of Maya, obviously. But Tony makes a joke about, I think, Maya liking Destiny's Child. And it's like, Beyonce rules the world.
I don't remember that, but that is also hilarious.
Some things have not aged well.
At all, yeah.
That is one of them. But it's cool to be all time capsule like that. Yeah, my other thoughts, Hotep Maya is so funny to me. It's so funny to me. I also see like how certain things may have shaped what I thought as a child and not that I didn't remember specifically, but like watching all of these Black sitcoms and things like that, like maybe that is why I find when a man has hips, even to this day, like a little, oh wow, okay, that's interesting. Like that's out of the norm. Like still finding that to this day, or like when any conspiratorial thing medically might be happening towards Black people, it's always the Tuskegee experiment that we say first, even though none of us learned that shit in like elementary school, middle school, or high school. But like we've been saying that for like years and years and years now, and like that's one of the things that Maya says in the episode. So I'm like, oh, maybe it was just like those kinds of indoctrinations, whether good or bad, that like stuck with us. You have any other thoughts about that episode?
Why they put that man in a girdle, Samantha? Why they did that to that man? To this day.
Oh, God.
They did not have to pull out the Spanx for that man. Why they did that? It wasn't even that bad. It was not even bad. That's whenever I think about Marcus with the big hips, that's my question. Why did they have to put that? They literally, and the fact that she was so disgusted by his shapewear.
She was so disgusted
by his, and I'm like, you don't have shapewear, because I've had shapewear since I was 8. Like I literally.
Yeah, Joan is though disgusted by everything. Like one thing be wrong with a nigga, she's just like it's like that meme, like you see a nigga in his socks or something like that.
And that's it. Joan's like, oh no, it won't work. I can't marry him. You've been on 2 dates, Joan. How are we marrying this man?
She gets so disgusted.
She's so preoccupied with finding a husband, and then it's so easily turned off. She's not sticking it through.
Yeah.
You have to be the perfect man in all ways.
Exactly. Episode 5 is the fallout of Marcus with the big hips. They actually start dating. She sets his hips aside. And I guess the spark is just not there. She's not feeling it. He's a little bit too attentive, which is kind of toxic of her. But I guess he's too attentive and not I guess the chase is not there any longer. I think that's what's pulling her out of it. My standout thing of this episode was the transphobia. So to like, her friends are doing all these different schemes to get him to break up with her or whatever, and I think it's William who says Joan used to be a man. And yeah, it's just didn't age well. One of those things that did not age well.
The transphobia hops out real quick.
Yeah. Even at some moment, William says, not that there's anything wrong with being a transsexual. And it's like, okay, that's also dated language. But then they start talking and they like stigmatize transness in all these different ways. And it's just like, like, did you write that in there as like, oh, I'm not a bigot, but I'm still going to get these jokes off? Like, was that the point of making William say that? Because by trying to use that as a deterrent to dating someone that is literally saying that there is something wrong. So interesting. Any other thoughts about that episode?
No. I want to go back to the previous episode
Mm-hmm.
because I believe, as they are all internet dating,
Yeah.
William is also
Oh,
internet
yes.
dating.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
And that's when he meets Yvonne.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, when she's played out to be like this really crazy cop.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that.
I didn't like that either. I didn't like that either. I don't like her as a character. And I wasn't sure why. So I wasn't going to say anything about it. I wasn't going to say anything about it. Like, I wasn't sure if that was me playing on. It's okay. I wasn't sure if that was me playing on, like, deep down biases that I have in my life, or if she's really just an annoying character.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I'm not gonna call you out and say it's your biases, but I noticed that characters like Yvonne pull at this respectable classist thing in me. So that's me. Maybe that is for you as well, and why you didn't like her at first. But as I rewatched it, I did like her.
Okay.
Like, now that I can identify that within myself in all areas, not just the show, she didn't bother me as much.
Okay. I think that she is played, there's like a respectable thing there, and that's also, like, I think that plays on the tension between her and William, and why he's not interested in her at first, and then they're like two people of opposite sides of the whatever, and that's why they're cool. I think I don't like her because like Maya is also someone who's pitted as a different class from everybody else, and I love her. I think they're both characters, and all the characters are, honestly, but like played up for comic relief at some point. And I like more subtle humor than over the top, you're yelling humor. And I think that she is kind of just like this is so crazy, and it's just like not funny to me. So it's just a bit annoying. But I will continue to unpack that, because maybe I'm a piece of shit. Maybe I am indeed a piece of shit. So thank you for bringing that up. Episode 6, should we go to episode 6?
Yes.
Okay, episode 6 was a Halloween episode, which is very important because I watched it the day before Halloween. That is the episode where Joan has a costume party. Shout out to Joan being the friend who throws all the parties, man. She has a costume party, and Tony brings one of her new men, and it is revealed that he is a furry. He likes to have sex with the third being a teddy bear or some other plushy character, though they do not say furry specifically. Lynn is the one who pegs his kink, and she calls it being a plushie. So yeah, this maybe before that, but I think this is like the standout where we see Lynn as the quote unquote sexual deviant person. Like, whenever it's quote unquote deviant sexual behavior, whether it be group sex or this or voyeurism, Lynn is the person who knows about it. So maybe that is why, one of the reasons why I liked Lynn as a child and couldn't remember why, but I definitely dig that. Though I do think it's interesting that the person who is light skinned and the person who is half white is the person who is allowed to be in the know about all these kinds of things and not be the one to stigmatize all these kinds of things. So that's interesting. Though Joan is also light skinned and in real life is half white. And is she? Is Tracy Elsa Ross half white? I think she is.
Yes, she is. I think
she's biracial. And she is like adamantly against the furry thing. Actually, she's very what's the word I would say? She's not all that sex positive in my opinion. Not all that sex positive.
No, she's not.
So yeah, but we do explicitly know that as a character, Lynn is the person who grew up white. She grew up with an adopted white family and is half white, so it's interesting. This is an episode where I wrote down the I'm 29 and I'm not married and I need to find a man talk bores me. So at episode 6, I had it.
Samantha was done. Okay. Checked out.
Yeah. Like, does it have to be every episode at every given moment?
Yes. Yeah. Because
Like, it's Halloween, bitch. There's other stuff to talk about.
early 2000s said if you are a woman with a
Yeah.
career in the house and you ain't got no husband, you need to find one because you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, that is definitely what they said.
Oh, child.
I'm tired of it. That's my thoughts for episode 6. Any other for you?
No, I really loved the inclusion of this furry aspect. I was like, okay. Like watching it now, I was like, all right. But again, looking at how it was one of those taboo things back then.
Yeah. It's interesting how there's no more that. I think the last bastion of like, oh, you do that was like ass eating 5 years ago, and now it's just like niggas do whatever.
Niggas do what
That's okay.
And I'm trying to find out all the whatevers that we're doing. Because now there's a lot of talk about pegging.
Yes.
And then I had shared this thing on my Instagram about muffing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't know this was a thing because I haven't had sex with trans women, nor am I a trans woman. But I was like, ooh, we gotta see some things. Like, I gotta add this to the list.
Yes. Okay, so next up is episode 7. Episode 7, Tony starts dating a white man who is a politician, and
this is hilarious.
Oh yes, and whatchamacallit, Tony finds out or assumes or sees something very precarious where Maya's husband Darnell is getting fed at his job a strawberry by a woman, and tells Maya that she thinks he's Sheen. So that's that episode. What was hilarious?
No, that wasn't Tony, that was Joan who saw Darnell.
Oh, oops. I'm sorry. Everybody has 4-letter names, and this shit is fucking me up, obviously. This shit is clearly... I have been messing up this whole...
You
I'm going to start calling them by their archetypes. Yes, I've mixed up Maya and Tony several times before. It's all 4-letter names. I'm about to just start saying the gold digger, the lawyer, the biracial one, and Maya. I'll keep Maya at her name, or the Hotep, because they're fucking me up. Anyway, sorry.
What I liked about this was what was hilarious about it was the end where the councilman was talking about Tony's weave on the that
was funny to me too.
That took me out. I was like, that white man did not use this black woman's weave
as a metaphor for Los Angeles. I wrote that down and I put mad laugh emojis. That was funny.
That took me out to this day.
Oh, that was funny. I wrote down girlfriends was Twitter before Twitter was Twitter. And like in the same way that people are like, oh, Insecure is going to bring up whatever Twitter is talking about or whatever. It's interesting here because, I don't know, I guess maybe people were talking about it on like Black Planet or some shit like that. Or I don't know, the party lines or whatever. But like every like hot topic within the Black community is discussed. So like, when do you have the weave talk with your white man? Yeah. And then Darnell's gaslighting just annoyed me. I think
boiled my blood.
Exactly.
Boiled my blood.
Exactly. Episode 8, Joan thinks that she is pregnant. She takes a pregnancy test that tells her that she is pregnant, and then she goes to a gynecologist and finds out that she was in fact not pregnant. Excuse me. Couple of things that were interesting about this episode was Joan's adamant belief that kids equals a dream deferred. Like that she would just have to put everything down and not attain any sort of career success at all.
Not ever again.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting because people still believe that, but I think it's to a way less extent nowadays. And it's interesting that she believed that because she has such a good community around her of people who will help her and who are invested in the success of her as well as like taking care of her child. And one of my favorite parts of the episode is when she's like, okay, looks like I'm having this baby, y'all. And everybody comes over, and William brings like a stuffed animal for the baby. And everybody's like, nah, we got you. I was like, oh, that is so heartwarming. Her community cares about her.
Definitely. And what irritated me about that is that she has an example of that. Like Maya may not be, again, there's this kind of classist undertone that Maya is her assistant and has a child.
Mm-hmm.
And so she, that child is the reason why she doesn't have a better career. She's just an assistant. Because I'm like, if you look at Maya, she's not single. She's not a single woman doing alone, but also not like a dream deferred kind of thing. Like she's still working. She's still a working woman, getting it, raising her child.
There's actually a moment in that where they make the character Maya herself undercut that, though, because she's like, girl, look at me. Granted, I have help from Darnell or whatever, but once I had my baby, and then she says something like, I stopped working for 5 years or something like that. So they actually use her as a character to demonstrate that it is a dream deferred. Though in real life it is not. At some point, abortion is not considered at all for Joan. And I was like, it's not even a question. And then afterwards, when they finally gather, then it's a question. I just thought that was weird. And we didn't quite see why that was not considered at all for her. Like, I'm very religious, or I would never do that. Or I always said, like, once I do get pregnant, I'm going to bring the child to term. It was just like, abortion didn't exist for the first 10 minutes of the episode.
I chalk that up to, again, the culture of the time. Of what that was back in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah.
Your only choice is to have this baby and figure out.
Exactly.
I was like, girl, if that's not a quick call to the Planned Parenthood, like, why was this not a conversation? Well, no, this was the gynecologist called her afterwards, which was interesting because that doesn't happen in real life. You go to the gynecologist.
I didn't really get that.
You pee in the cup there. They tell you there. Like, I don't. Yeah.
Is nobody versed in medicine writing for that episode
at all, because I didn't understand.
One of my favorite parts about this show, and that was making me feel better about the I'm 29 and I don't have a man type shit, is how single and loving it Tracy Ellis Ross is in real life right now, this very moment. She's just like the single auntie who's just like fucking gallivanting around the world and having a good time, not aging despite her half white genes, not aging like milk.
Aging like skim milk, she's just slowly.
I just think that's a good thing to keep in mind as the bullshit of the show kind of weighs down. And then I wrote down Maya is hilarious. I don't know why I said that, but I just
because something about Maya was hilarious.
You have anything else for episode 8?
No.
Okay. Episode 9 was the Thanksgiving episode. So Joan meets a fuckboy lawyer who's just trying to like get her in bed all throughout Thanksgiving, and she thinks that all of her friends have bailed on her, and they have. But then things go awry in their personal
plan.
Yeah, their personal plan. So they come through and kind of like cock block her a little bit. Kelsey Grammer was in this episode, and I was a really big fan of Frasier, and he executive produced the show. And when he was there, I was just like, I'm standing. Like, I feel like I have actually met him. So that was because I didn't remember that happening. So I was just like really happy. So I just wrote down Kelsey Grammer himself. I'm standing. Cry face. I think that's about it for me. Yeah, I don't really have much for that
found it interesting. She met this man and he was in her home in like 20 minutes. Like,
he was there and she was gonna cook a whole turkey for him.
I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, that was interesting.
it all, and again, this is TV, but all of it moved so quickly for a nigga you just met that now I am lying and about to fry a turkey and possibly burning my home down for what is going to end up be a one-night stand.
Also, I'm it upset me that her friends were not intentional about spending Thanksgiving with her. Granted, like, yes, be intentional about spending Thanksgiving with your family, but don't tell her last minute, because it's just like deprioritizing platonic relationships in a way that I don't like. But then when they all came over, like, oh, my personal plans failed, she was trying to get them out to fuck. Like, dick ain't never been prioritized over Thanksgiving plans with my friends and family. Like,
no,
I love these people. I don't know him.
I don't know this man.
Yeah.
And again, highlights this: you need to chase a man at all costs. Like, you need to get one at all costs. And I'm like, not at the cost of my house and my friends.
Yeah, no. Anything else for that one?
No, that's it.
Okay. Episode 10.
I just want to say that I love that you pegged him as a fuckboy, because definitely that was it. That was it.
That was like the original. That was like the first fuckboy we done seen on TV. Episode 10. What is the exact premise of episode 10? Oh yes. Okay, so Maya has decided to renew her vows with is his name Darnell?
Yes, his name is Darnell.
Sorry. She's decided to renew her vows with Darnell, and they've been going to therapy and all that kind of stuff. And Joan is planning the wedding, and it's supposed to be at her house, but Joan takes control because that's one of Joan's character traits. She's a control freak. And then also she needs to get married, so she exerts all the things that she's wanted out of a wedding on Maya's vow renewal ceremony. Maya's mom, or is it her aunt? I think that's her mom. Makes dresses for all the bridesmaids, and Joan hates it, and she thinks it's low class, and she's like, oh, Vera Wang did this. Do you know who Vera Wang is? And they're like, yeah, we know who Vera Wang is. We just don't fuck with her like that. So yeah, there's this whole classist tension, and they have a falling out, and then Joan ends up coming to the ceremony and apologizes, and they make space for that apology and them making up or whatever and growing within their friendship. So one, I loved Maya's classist call out, and I wrote down Maya's classist call out, exclamation point, exclamation point.
Because she said, Joan, that is classist and egregious.
She did say egregious.
I know big words. She did say egregious. That's when I learned the word egregious, okay? Like,
and Joan was like, egregious? And she was like, yeah, bitch, I do know what that means, you motherfucker. Stop talking to me like that. Stop talking to me like that. Yeah, I love that. And I loved her holding her accountable, which there's moments of accountability throughout this season, and I appreciate those. And then I liked that. So like when Joan came to the ceremony after, at first Maya's like, oh hell no, and then Joan gives like an adequate apology, and they like Maya stops the wedding to actually talk to Joan, and she was like, oh, that's the good thing about like not following the standards that society has set on weddings, we can always start over. And I just like that she held space for friendship in the space of a romantic space, and she was like, no, I'm going to be intentional about this, and I'm going to prioritize it because I love everybody in this room, not just this cheating ass nigga I still fucking hate Darnell.
What I did like, one, was that I agree with that. Two, I loved the showing of couples therapy. Before this, or maybe it was the same episode, they went to pastoral couples therapy with like their pastor. Was it this?
I don't know. I don't remember that specifically.
Okay, I might be jumping ahead.
I just remember couples therapy in general, but I may have missed that.
I might be. No. Oh, I'm jumping way ahead. Never mind. I'm somewhere else. Okay. But yes, I do like the mention of therapy, in a time where it was stigmatized a bit more than it is now, and couples therapy specifically.
Yeah.
Not just, oh, we're gonna figure this out on our own, but like, let us do the interventions to make it work. And there was, I don't know if you'll get to this, but there's a part in that episode where William is dating a white woman.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Idea of dating white women, and there became that talk of like interracial dating and Black men dating out of the race and Black women not.
Yeah, that was good too. Yeah, I wrote that down. I forgot to say that. I thought it was interesting. Like some of the things have kind of aged out, I think, in regards to, oh, this is a hot topic. But some of the things, it's just like, oh yes, and Twitter talks about that every day to this day.
To this day.
Yeah, that was definitely one of those evergreen moments. Anything else on that episode?
No, I think that's it.
Episode 11. That is an episode where Joan is accidentally in a relationship with someone who is cheating on his wife. And then there's like a little bait and switch where the person shows up to Joan's house and oh crap. Oh wow. Okay. The person shows up to Joan's house and they think that it's actually Tony, because Tony is also sleeping with a married man, and then it's revealed that that man was lying. It's just a very convoluted episode.
It was hilarious
about cheating ass niggas. Yeah, it's just funny. It's just funny. That's the only thing I really have about that episode, that the plot twist of who's cheating and who's not and who done it.
Yes. Like, who is the cheater? Who is sleeping with the actual married man? Who's the adulterer in this?
Yeah. Any thoughts about that episode?
No, that was it. That was it for Frank.
Episode 12. Or maybe is that 13 where it's revealed that he's a sex addict? I think 12 is where they start dating and 13 is where.
Yes, and 13 is where.
Okay, because 12 I wrote down nothing. So, you have any thoughts about 12 itself?
12. So 12 starts out with them making a list about their ideal partners, what the qualities in a partner, and I remember that. But outside of that, no.
Okay.
Outside of that, no, yeah.
Okay. So in 12 also go ahead.
So when she had met, was it Sean she had met? Yeah, in the museum.
Yes.
There was this talk by her and two of the other friends that she's like aggressive. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that, how that was displayed or how that was talked about, because you don't have to be this docile person to get a man. It was like, oh, if you're this aggressive, not even aggressive, because she really is just assertive. Joan's a little aggressive, but this idea of like, you can't be an assertive woman. You have to be this docile, passive person and be, chased by the man, or, chosen by the man rather than you choosing your man. Yeah, that's what I want to highlight.
That was interesting because they said that, and I don't like that either, the way it's stated, but I do think that they were on to something, not in that she's wrong for being aggressive. I think she just had no fucking game.
Yeah, it was it was Joan. It was Joan.
Yeah, like, so she was being like assertive and like talking to him and making it clear that she was interested. But then in the end, when he gives her card to call him, she's like, no, I'm the woman, you call me, or whatever. And it's funny because then she's like, oh no, chase me. Like, I'm chasing, and now it's like, oh no, chase me. And I think like some sort of chase and play is actually conducive to building romantic relationships that is good and feels fun on either end, but she just did it wrong. Sucked at it. It was just bad. It was poor game. It was very cringy. But yeah, I wish that they would have actually said what it was, like what she was doing wrong. Like, add a little finesse, girl. What the hell are you doing?
A little.
Yeah. At the end of that episode, because there's a moment between Lynn and Joan ragging on each other or whatever, and Lynn being like, you want to control everything, and Joan being like, you have no direction in life, you don't commit to anything, blah blah blah. So they have a falling out, and then they make up as they do, and accountability is had, and then Joan gifts Lynn a red triangle art piece that she was obsessed with in that same gallery in the end. And I was just like, oh, I love when they gift each other because it's so sweet. Like earlier in the season, Tony bought shoes for Joan that she saw one time and they were out of her size. Like the fact that she thought about that and went back and got her shoes in her size, was like, oh, you guys are so sweet when you're sweet to each other, and when you're not, yikes. All right, this is the last episode that we're going to do. It is episode 13, and this is where Joan finds out that the man who she started seeing in the previous episode is a sex addict. I just wrote down Joan sucks, LMAO. She comes to his sex addicts anonymous meeting, and he starts getting into the nature of his sex addiction. And at one point he says like he slept with 300 women, and this bitch just gets up and walks out. I was just like,
up and out. Sis said nope.
What the fuck?
Sis said nah.
How do you just leave?
Sis said that is it for me. Thank you.
Like, just like hold the discomfort until after he's sucking and then walk. She just left. And then he comes to her crib and she's like, I was gonna call. Have you not even called yet? What the fuck? Like, once again, like, this is not a finesse moment, but lacking tact. That's what it is, lacking tact. A couple other things I wrote down. I was wondering if his explanation of what he went through as what he would go through if Joan touched him was accurate. And I'm just not sure. I think like TV in general, and still to this day, because I was watching something that came out in 2019 and they use sex addiction, uses sex addiction as like a plot point, but I'm not sure if the people writing know enough about addiction or sex addiction to really be using it as, or I don't know if they ever do it justice.
Yeah, so his explanation was that, you know, if he kisses her, he'll want to have sex with her, and then if he has sex with her, he'll want more sex, and that will eventually lead to him cheating and seeking sex out with people. You know, I don't know much.
That's the thing, right? Because like one time, I think it was on the hypersexuality episode, me and Rob talked about sex addiction and the fact that there's not much known about sex addiction.
Yes.
So it's interesting that it is a plot point and it's like, this is what I'm going to do because I'm a sex addict. But like people who study this don't know if that's what's going to happen. So you as a sitcom writer is like, I don't think you can be doing it justice because no one's doing it justice.
And I think I think they tried to like model that on like, let's say a substance addiction like alcohol, but even then that kind of explanation doesn't fit alcoholism. Like if you have one drink does not mean you'll want more and more drinks. Typically what happens for someone who relapses is that they have one drink, there's a craving for one, and then once they've done it, it's like an all or nothing kind of thinking. Oh, well, I had one cookie, let me just drink everything in the house, you know. It's like, I already fucked up, let me go. So not like a self-control issue, but the way we cognitively frame it. And if I look at it that way, yeah, it's like at some point it's like it's framed as this lack of self-control. Like it's this thing taking over me, and once I let it in, boom, I have no awareness or agency in what I'm doing. And it's like, no, you know, people are making bad choices and mistakes, sure, but it's not, they're not possessed. Like he's not possessed by the sex demon in which once it's activated with a kiss, he just has to keep going and going and going and going and going. No.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Another thing, I think the last thing that I found was interesting was whether that's rooted in actual life or not, he as a character did say like, this is what's going to happen to me if I kiss you and I'm concerned about it. And she's just like, not at that point, but later in the episode, she's like, and I'm a girlfriend who wants to kiss her boyfriend, like kind of like tempting him into kissing her. And I thought that was like, that was a weird way to navigate that.
It's definitely not supportive of someone who's telling you that they have a problem. It's kind of like, all right, well, I want to have a drink, so I'm going to have a drink in front of
you could join me or not. Like,
yeah, like, no, you want to be considerate of that person.
Yeah. And like go slow and talk about the implications of it. Like they've talked about his sex addiction, but they didn't talk about what's next. She was like, all right, I'm sorry for walking out on your meeting. Kiss me, nigga.
Yeah.
It's very her-centric when he's telling you that he has an issue.
You know, and there that could have been that could have led to a conversation of, well, we know Joan ain't capable of this, but like ethical non-monogamy, like if you have an itch to scratch and I can't have sex with you all day, every day, if that's how it manifests for you.
Yeah.
What can you do, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, it also made it seem like he's been in recovery for however long he said he was, and using his sex addiction group as a support. They don't talk to y'all about coping? Like, is masturbation not a thing?
Yeah, it was a bit all or nothing.
Exactly. It's this all or nothing, I'm kind of possessed and it takes over me kind of thing. And like, no, there is masturbation. There is, later on they go into like phone sex, but like there is other things besides actual penetrative sex that you can use to scratch your itch if that's what it is. And none of that, you know, is touched upon in the same way that like when she thought she was pregnant, abortion didn't even come into the picture. Like there's just these the other alternatives are never explored.
Yeah, which is interesting. I'm not sure if that lends it. That's because it's a 20-minute episode, or if they're just not doing it. I don't know.
Yes, we have to be mindful that it is 20 minutes that they are giving us.
Okay? I don't know, man. Degrassi be having that had like 20-25-minute episodes, and they went into the shits. Okay,
they did though. They went into the shit.
Oh man,
I gotta rewatch that.
I was like, maybe we should do a Degrassi review. Okay. You have any other thoughts about Girlfriends?
No, I'm very happy that we made it to the sex addict boyfriend, because I remember that so clearly as a child. Because I was like, we have to get there at least.
And we did. All right. If you guys have been watching, or if you all have been watching Girlfriends, you have additional thoughts, let us know. If there's any throwback shows or current shows or anything like that you want us to review on As Media, let us know. If this episode has made you laugh, helped you learn something, made you feel good, made you question yourself in a good way, or positively moved you in any sense of the word, please leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher, and let everyone you know that you love these hoes. We appreciate every single last one of yous.
Of course. And again, if you would like to follow us on social media, you can do so at Inaho Uprising without the G on Twitter, at Inaho Uprising with the G on Instagram and Facebook. Join our Facebook group by searching Inaho Uprising Community. That is CUMMUNITY. You can head to InahoUprising.com to pay a hoe. And you guys can follow me, Akua, at Hey Akua Girl. Where sometimes you see my face and sometimes you see my sons.
Yes, both of which are good. Both of which are good things to see. You can follow me at SlamRid on Instagram and Twitter, and there you can see the cosplays that I talk about, which are very cool, and selfies of me and all that kind of stuff, and like weird food in my Instagram story. Everybody take care of yourself this week, and we'll see you next week. Bye.